Hello, everyone. I am criminal defense attorney Sarah Sparkman, and today we are going to be talking about Magdalene Serenity House. Magdalene Serenity House is a nonprofit based in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They help women who have been in prison thrive, and they do amazing work in the community. So I am excited to talk about this. So I'm happy to be joined by April Bachrodt and Sophia Dugwyler, who are going to tell us about what Magdalene Serenity House is and what the community can do to support this organization. April is executive director of Magdalene Serenity House. She has her PhD in social work, and she is a licensed certified social worker. She helped bring Magdalene Serenity House to life as a founding board member, and she was the program's first program director. She is passionate about helping formerly incarcerated women rebuild their lives and is grateful to be part of a community that believes in second chances. And in her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her husband and 4-year-old daughter. Sophia Dugwyler is a resident support specialist at Magdalene Serenity House. She is a certified peer recovery support specialist, which enables her to share her own experience and utilize those experiences as a tool to work with women who are in recovery at Magdalene and in the community. So April, Sophia, welcome. Thank you for educating us today, and I am excited to hear what y'all have to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. We appreciate you giving us time to share more about our work with women post-incarceration in Northwest Arkansas. All right. Keep going here. Like you said, Sarah, our goal is to help rebuild the lives of women who have experienced trauma, addiction, and incarceration. And we do that in a couple of core ways. One is through safe housing, 2, through long-term support, and 3, through our partnerships in the community. As folks may know or may not know, that women remain the fastest growing prison population nationwide. And here in Arkansas, since the early 1980s, we've seen that the number of women in the Arkansas jails and prisons has dramatically increased. So we're seeing, percentages of 1,000%. So a steady increase here in Arkansas for women involved in the criminal justice system. We also know that incarcerated women are often disproportionately affected by health issues, most commonly substance abuse, medical problems, and often have mental health needs. They also have histories of complex trauma, including childhood abuse and neglect, childhood sexual abuse, domestic violence, and sexual violence. And most of the women we serve here have been victims of violence across their lifespan. So we're looking at women who have experienced what would be called complex trauma. Often it starts with early childhood abuse, unhealthy relationships, domestic violence, and it just kind of skyrockets from there. So addressing trauma is an important aspect of working with women who have been incarcerated. Here in Northwest Arkansas, we are home to a really unique women's prison. It is a treatment-based prison. So women are able to go to Northwest Arkansas Community Corrections and get treatment. So they go in to serve their sentence, and they get treatment from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed. It's intensive, and the goal is to work with women who do have substance abuse disorder, who have drug offenses, and do that rehabilitative work. So when they leave this program, they're able to successfully reintegrate into the community. So definitely an innovative criminal justice approach to helping women who are in need of this intensive care. This program is awesome, and Magdalene would not be here without the prison. And so we started when a group of volunteers from St. Paul's Episcopal Church would go into the prison and they would conduct a prison ministry. So they got to know the women, they heard their stories, And what they started to notice is that women would do all this really great intensive work when they were at the prison. They were getting better, they were ready to change their life. But what would happen is they would get out and there was no safe place to go. So they would often return back to the environments that really got them in trouble in the first place. And what happened to start Magdalene is they got particularly close to one woman in the prison, and she got out, and within a week she had died from a suspected overdose. And so what they said is, we have to do something different. We can't have this great prison program here and not have a safe alternative for women getting out of prison. And that's how Magdalene got started, because we recognize these unique challenges that women face when they're getting out of prison. There is a lack of safe places to parole out to upon release, especially here in Northwest Arkansas. We were actually the first licensed program for women on parole here in Northwest Arkansas. We also see women, they get out and they have outstanding charges, legal issues, and debt. I don't know what people imagine when folks get out of prison, but it really just looks like walking outdoors with a pair of clothing from the clothing closet and a cardboard box filled with their things that they maybe did during treatment there or that came in with them. That's it. And then you're expected to report to your parole officer. You're often going to have outstanding charges, fines, fees. You have to get a job. So it can be really overwhelming to get out of prison, especially if you don't have someone to guide you through that process and those unique challenges. There's also housing restrictions for persons with a felony record. They can't just go out and get an apartment like anyone else. They're often discriminated against because of their criminal record. So that kind of edges them out of the housing market, except for certain housing arrangements that may not be safe for them to go back to. We also see an imposition of large fines and fees for their offenses. We had a resident who just finished our 2-year program that during her time here, she paid off $8,000 in fines and fees. So you can imagine getting out of prison with nothing, knowing that you have this large amount of debt weighing on you, and you're trying to figure out, how am I ever going to pay this? Which leads into the next issue. There's a lack of employment opportunities for persons with a felony record as well, especially jobs that are meaningful, that pay well, and are a safe environment for them to continue their recovery. And then we also see unaddressed physical and mental health challenges. Many of the women who come into our program have not had their mental health addressed, and often come to us with underlying health issues. And so we're often addressing the mind and the body and getting them healthy when they come into Magdalene. So again, that is why we opened Magdalene Serenity House. We opened in September 29th of 2017 because we knew that there needed to be a long-term, free, holistic solution to help women post-incarceration. We designed an intensive residential program where women could live here up to 2 years at no cost. We can house a total of 8 women, and we are a licensed facility, which allows us to house more than one woman on parole. So again, women don't have to pay anything to come into our program. Because we want them to have the opportunity to reduce stress, to save money, to pay off fines and fees, and do it in a supportive housing environment. We have 3 primary program phases. So when women get here, they're in phase 1. And so they get here and we assess their needs, and we're going to connect them with therapy, medical, dental, vision, and they're also going to participate in a holistic program schedule that includes therapeutic groups, self-care, exercise, and we provide a ton of individualized support. And we have a licensed social worker who meets with each of our residents on a weekly basis to do a treatment plan, to monitor their progress, to connect them with resources. We also have Sophia here who meets with them as a peer and is able to, again, continue to provide that one-on-one support, help them with day-to-day tasks such as filling out paperwork, calling the courts, cleaning up old legal issues, taking them to appointments, just being that supportive guide and a person who has been through what they have experienced. Our women do not work in this phase. We really emphasize rest, healing, and recovery, because coming out of prison is overwhelming. When you have been told what to do, how to do it, when to do it for years often, because these are women who often cycle in and out, little things such as going to the grocery store, not knowing what to choose, or feeling overstimulated by a crowd of people are very common among our residents. So we want them to learn to breathe, to sit still, and de-stress and learn what it feels like to not be going 1,000 miles an hour, and get used to that feeling, a feeling that many of them have never had before. In phase 2, we are preparing our women for the workforce. So we ask that they work at least part-time or enroll in an education or job training program. But what's really cool is that we're teaching them work-life balance. And so they are working, but they're also still having to stay focused on their recovery and run and participate in that program schedule. So again, they're still getting that continued programming, that one-on-one support, but then they're also integrating working, and really we're supporting them in that transition. And in phase 3, we're preparing them to reintegrate into the community. So they're still working, they're participating in programming, but we're working a lot on financial management, budgeting, identifying safe housing, and really planning for their future. We do have requirements for completion. They have to do with saving money, identifying safe housing, maintaining their recovery. And to date, we have had 6 women completely finish our program and are doing well in the community. And what's really unique about our program is that once women graduate, we still provide continued support. We don't just say, okay, you graduated, you're done. We say, okay, this is going to be a really big life change. How can we support you once you reintegrate into the community? And that may look like continuing to participate in groups, meeting with Sophia on a weekly basis, meeting with our social worker. I'm going to go do a home visit on Friday with a resident who's kind of struggling with parenting. So we want to make sure that we're plugging in and helping them through that life transition. A new program that we hope to open in 2022 is our Aftercare House. So in December of 2020, we purchased a second property that is in the front yard of our residential program. So very easy access. We're very excited about the opportunity to expand our services. And the goal of the Aftercare House is to give our graduates the opportunity to apply real-world skills in a safe and supportive environment. It is very difficult to find safe and affordable housing. If you have a felony record, if your credit isn't quite where you want it to be. And so we wanted to provide an opportunity for women who are ready to transition out of this program, have an opportunity to move into our Aftercare House, which is going to be able to house 4 women. They'll pay affordable rent for up to 1 year. So again, we're advancing those skills. They're learning how to pay bills. They're continuing to learn how to manage money. And they get to still have some level of support as they learn to navigate independent living. We have a great team here at Magdalene Serenity House, and our team is what really makes this program work. So we have a team of licensed social workers. 3 of us are social workers. And then we have Sophia, who is our certified peer support specialist, and again, gives that unique experience and set of talents and skills in working with our residents that, again, I'm never going to have. So we're grateful to have her on our team. And we have a lot of interns. And now that the pandemic is starting to taper off, fingers crossed, we are reintegrating volunteers as well to help us with our program. A lot of people ask what our funding streams are, and we do rely heavily on individual giving and major donors. And we also write grants at the state, federal, and local level to help with funding our program, and rely on some foundations and churches for support, and engage in a lot of fundraising in order to continue to run this innovative program. We do not receive any funding from the Arkansas Department of Corrections or Arkansas Community Corrections to serve this population of women. I want to give you an idea of what Magdalene House looks like, and really emphasize that it's a home. It's not treatment. It's not a halfway house. This is truly a place of healing and recovery. It's a family and a community. So you can see we have a gorgeous living room, kitchen, dining room, and this house was renovated from the bottom up to accommodate 8 women who are working this type of a program. We have 2 women to a bedroom, and then we present each woman with a welcome basket when they get out of prison, because again, they come with nothing. They come with the clothes on their back. And so we want to make sure that when they get here, they don't have to worry about shampoo or laundry detergent or any of those basic items that we would take for granted. And we do, again, a lot of innovative programming. We do a lot of yoga. Again, this is our therapeutic space where our residents meet individually with Sophia or our program director. And I want to talk about a couple of our graduates, a couple of our success stories. This is Reagan. She just recently graduated in the spring of 2021. She had been incarcerated a number of times in county jail, went through Arkansas Community Corrections, came to us, did extremely well, was able to get a great job. She was promoted to assistant manager, has custody now of both of her daughters, is living independently, and really continuing to flourish in her recovery. This is Callie. She'll tell you that she was arrested over 40 times before she went to Northwest Arkansas Community Corrections, made the decision kind of last minute to come to Magdalene House. Again, did extremely well here, but received a crushing diagnosis of multiple sclerosis while she was in our program. And we were able, again, to work with that to get her the medical care she needed. Her disease is being treated, and she's actually now working with people in recovery in the community and really dreams of coming back to Magdalene and supporting the women here. And then we have Sophia here, and so she's going to talk a little bit about her experience at Magdalene and where she's been and what she's doing now.
Sure. My name is Sophia Dugwyler. I'm 32 years old. The first thing I wanted to share is how addiction for me was a whole lifestyle. And so I started using drugs and drinking from a very early age. I was about 12. After, engaging in that behavior for so long, it becomes my routine. And it was so ingrained into my life, my behaviors, the way that I thought and perceived things. So when I was 20 years old, I was charged with my first felonies. I have drug convictions, and I went to McPherson. I spent 11 months there. I was going to figure out how to get it together. So I was going to go home. I was going to quit using drugs, but I could probably still drink. Turns out that I'm also an alcoholic. And I pretty quickly relapsed on drugs also. And so I went back to prison for not reporting to my parole officer. And I just got caught up in this cycle where I would not be incarcerated, and I would not report to my parole officer. I would go to prison. I'd try to figure it out to no avail. And so on my 4th trip to prison, Magdalene House came and shared their mission with us. And then I knew that this program was for me. They were going to fill all of those needs that I really had no clue as to how to address. I thrived here. I learned a lot during my stay at Magdalene House. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to come back in as the resident support specialist and to just connect with the ladies on a really personal level, and be able to share my own experiences. And so when they're going through something hard, I can be like, look, I know not exactly. I know what this feels like. Like, I've been through this too. You're not alone, and we can overcome this. And here's what worked for me. Let's see what might work for you. And so just being able to share, some hope and connection and helping people navigate, whichever pathway to recovery is going to work for them, it's been so instrumental in my recovery also. And so my son and I live in Fayetteville. This is truly a wonderful community to recover and grow and live and flourish and just all of the things. And I'm so glad to be a part of Magdalene, and I'm so glad to call Fayetteville my home today.
Thank you, Sophia. And truly the best colleague and person to continue to use her talents and skills to inspire the women here. So many of the women look up to Sophia and say, gosh, I want to be able to give back. I want to help people. And Sophia really is a model for how you can do that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of people, again, ask how to help. There's a lot of different ways that you can help Magdalene Serenity House. The most obvious one is to donate. Any amount is going to help us continue to serve women in this community. We have an Amazon wish list of items that we typically need in the household, and we have a list of items that our graduates need when they finish our program. So always helps us to receive those items. Volunteering, just getting involved and finding where you can plug in. There's definitely a space for everyone to volunteer here at Magdalene House. One of the easiest things you can do is follow us on social media. Liking our posts, sharing them, and making sure that people know that this resource is here in the community, and sharing our mission. And subscribing to our newsletter, you can do that via our website. We send out a monthly newsletter that lets people know what we've been up to and always shares kind of a core issue that women post-incarceration struggle with. So Sarah, we just want to say thank you, and we want to open it up to any questions that you might have about our program and the way we work with women post-incarceration.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to April for telling us all about this wonderful program. And Sophia, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I do have some questions for you. So first of all, what is a common misconception that people have about women who have been to prison?
Want to start?
So I can speak to my experience, and a very common misconception, I think, is around temperament, right? So when I am telling somebody that I work with women post-incarceration, they're like, oh, isn't that scary? Right? And so I think, we had this idea of what it means to go to prison, and we, people will picture that as a dangerous person or whatever it may be. And sometimes that's accurate, but most often we're going to prison or we're getting involved in the criminal justice system because of a mistake or a series of mistakes or, crimes that we have committed, in the context of our addiction. Because, some ladies have got even violent charges because of a domestic disturbance that they ended up, facing the repercussions for. And I'll tell you, like, the women here are not dangerous. We are not scary. Like, we are women who have been presented with an opportunity to get it together. Like, we have made mistakes. But, I know for a fact that, like, the level of motivation in the women that we serve it's it's really incredible. And you know, they're some of the kindest, most compassionate individuals that I've really known, and they're really putting in a lot of work. And so it's very discouraging when employers or renters or people who just haven't had any experience with people post incarceration. It's very difficult to kind of be faced with that stigma against us. April, did you have anything to add?
No, I think you said it beautifully, of all the different challenges and just recognizing that they're people just like we are. And again, that we all make mistakes. And I think sometimes people think that prison is going to be rehabilitative or what they do. I think there's so many alternatives to sending someone to jail or even to prison. I mean, I love RPF here in Fayetteville because it is treatment, but I think we have to continue to look at that system critically and think of how we can do better. Because like Sophia said, it's the underlying issues that contribute to criminal behavior. It's addiction, it's generational poverty, it's lack of opportunity, lack of education. The cards are really stacked against women who get involved in the criminal justice system. And so I think there's a lot that we could do better on the front end to prevent women from unfortunately getting trapped in this system.
Well, thank you all very much. And that kind of leads me to my next question, because kind of the common theme is, you know, these women who have been in prison are, I mean, it's all of us. It's just there are now new challenges, and women who've been to prison have challenges that people who have not been in and out of the system face. So whenever you leave prison, it's not just, okay, my prison sentence is done, everything is legally free and clear. What are some of the legal challenges that women who have been in prison commonly face once they leave prison?
Yeah, and Sophie, you can certainly speak to this too in your experience. But yeah, I think even I had this misconception that once you finish your sentence, that all is done, right? Like you're going to get time served for everything else you've ever done, and that's not the case. And we see that judges rarely give people time served. If they go to prison and say they have outstanding charges, we're not seeing many give them time served. And so the fact that women have outstanding charges, and so you go to prison on one charge, but when you get out, we often see maybe old charges, old misdemeanors, or maybe you've been in county jail, or maybe you've been in prison, and so you're not appearing at court dates. So then you're getting a failure to appear. You're also not paying your fines, because what would you pay your fines with? So you're getting a failure to pay. And so we really notice that we have to call just about every county, every jurisdiction to find out, you know, is there a charge here? Do we have a warrant? How can we get it recalled? Because again, no one wants to be walking around with an outstanding warrant. It's very anxiety provoking, especially if you've just been incarcerated. No one wants to hear, just turn yourself in, because, well, last time I turned myself in, look what could potentially happen. And I don't want to go back to that. That's traumatic. And so you have to come out and you have to clean that up. And those fines and fees wait for no one. And so it's really difficult to come out and you owe $50 here, $50 there, $75 there. Every month you're on a payment plan for your fines and fees, they add $10. And so it just feels insurmountable when they get out legally. And so having an advocate to sit by you as you call those places to help you stay calm and find alternative solutions and say you're going to be okay. This is overwhelming and this sucks, but we're going to support you through this, I think is really a critical part of our program. We're going to drive you to court. We're going to sit with you through this. We always tell our women, we are not going to let you go back to jail. We will do everything in our power to not let that happen, and we will advocate for you. And then also legally, and I think another challenge is reunification with children. And so oftentimes, when they're incarcerated, they don't have contact with their children. And then when they get out, kind of untangling who has custody, who has guardianship, what are your rights, and really just kind of taking that apart because they want to see their kids. They want to learn how to parent, but we have to think strategically about how do we do that the right way? How do we do it in a way that is in the best interest of your kiddo, but also follows the legal papers. And so tracking that down and making sure we're all kind of clear on what that arrangement is. But I think that's also been really difficult and can be extremely heartbreaking for our residents who are not able to have access to their children and having to untangle that legal mess. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. You summed it up very well. Just to elaborate on like how intimidating it is to try to navigate that system. It's such a complex system. And, as a person in recovery, a person on parole, it's very difficult to interact with like authority figures. It's very intimidating. And oftentimes it's easier to just not, right? And so, and so like April said, sitting with the lady while she makes a phone call, writing out a list of questions and concerns and follow-ups and just advocating on their behalf, really empowers them. Like, we're not going to call the court or go talk to the judge on your behalf, but we'll be with you through that. And it brings them a sense of self-efficacy that like maybe they hadn't experienced in the past.
Absolutely. And I would say driver's license suspensions don't do anyone any favors. And so our women are often getting their driver's license suspended for non-driving related crimes. And so having to also untangle that and figure out, okay, who suspended it? What needs to happen to get it released? What is going to be the reinstatement fee? And every court is different and every county is different on how they like to handle that. And that can be incredibly frustrating for our women.
And I'll add on to what you said there. It's true, every court does everything a little bit differently. So if you have dangling misdemeanors out of multiple courts, like not only do you have to tackle each one of those, you've got to figure out the order of business and how they like to go about doing things there. And April, you do a really good job of finding out, what should my resident expect going through this system. And if you are a person, trying to get your way through the system, that's a lot of information to process. And it's amazing to see the support that Magdalene provides. Information is very powerful, and to be able to give like, okay, this is kind of the direction they go in, winds up, I would hope, winds up being really meaningful to residents, just to not feel like they are out there alone.
Absolutely.
And so kind of in line, dealing with courts, it's also often really difficult for people with criminal histories to get employment. So what are the things that Magdalene does to work with the residents to help them find employment?
Sure. And so as a resident is moving into phase 2, we really start to focus on what happens next, what comes next. Does a resident wish to pursue schooling or any sort of certification? And so we have partnerships in the community with an organization called ARS, who will help them they offer a variety of services from like assessing strengths and skills to helping find funding for to pursue a certification. We just had a resident become certified in Pilates to be a Pilates instructor, and she is stoked. She enjoys it. She has found a lot of value in that line of work. And so if a person isn't interested in going to school, then we're looking at, well, what kind of work would you like to get into? I myself was presented with an opportunity to become an art teacher, 4 months out of prison. And I was like, oh no, I can't do that. There's no way they'd hire me. I'm not qualified. But I was supported and encouraged. and somebody helped me, formulate this resume that was a pretty accurate assessment of my skills, but they taught me how to present it in a way that really spoke to those skills and who I was as a person, and not the label I had, taken on as a felon. And I became an art teacher. And so we do resume development, and the ladies are heavily involved in that. And we're looking at their skills and figuring out, the best way to present that and tailor it towards the field that they're going into. And some people are happy with food service, or what are some of the other basic jobs, or
like labor,
or labor, yeah,
yeah.
labor and cleaning, and those are great and they're fun, and people enjoy doing those. But then we've also had people go into areas that are a little bit more specialized, and really, helping them figure out what they want to do, what are the steps we need to get there, and then helping them go for it. We can do. I've had residents in the past that were really uneasy about talking about their charges, because it always comes up. We've got gaps in employment, we've got felonies on our record. And so just like learning how to talk about that to a potential employer, or to anybody in general, is a skill that we practice in order to be confident in our ability to do that. Like, yes, this is what I went through, this is what I did, but here's all the things that I've done since then. And this is how I've changed, and it's actually made me a better person and held me more accountable. And so, yeah, but then some ladies are doing their own thing, and we allow them to do that also. If they are pursuing work on their own, and they're confident in their ability to do so, we definitely let them do that. And we're not going to make anybody do any sort of job training or anything that's, not necessary. And so just like everything else in the program, we really tailor it according to that individual's needs, concerns, and what they want to do.
And that's great to hear. And this may be getting off track a little bit, but I know whenever people who have experienced trauma, being able to have choices is really, really huge. And so being able to have the choice, like, this is the career path that I want to go forward with, and empowering them to make that choice on their own. Like, you are there to provide the support. You're not there to, push them in a certain direction. And that's really incredible. And what a wonderful thing that, a lot of times when we overlook people who have criminal histories when deciding to make hiring decisions, that really eliminates a portion of the population that could do some really good work. And we see that with the Magdalene residents, and we see their work ethic and what they are able to do, and what a valuable asset that they are to the community. And I think that's one of the real big strengths of the program. So this question is going to be a little bit of an institutional knowledge question, but the program has been in place, Magdalene House, since 2017. How has the program evolved, and what are some of the major changes that have happened since 2017?
Yeah, I think since 2017, we kind of started with a little bit of a different focus. Initially, we were kind of focused on women who had experienced sex trafficking, prostitution, and addiction. And then we kind of got back to the heart of why we were developed, remembering going to the prison, remembering what we learned from the prison ministry, and realizing that there are such a lack of options for women who are coming out on parole. And that's when we refined our mission to serve women who have that history of trauma, addiction, and incarceration. So all of our women have been incarcerated. All of our women really wanted to fine-tune our program to fill such a significant gap in services, not only in Northwest Arkansas, but across the state, for women who are looking to continue their recovery and healing post-incarceration. So I'd say that would be probably our biggest shift. And then also just our addition of staff members, like being able to incorporate peer support into our program, recognizing Sophia's unique set of skills and knowledge and what value that would add to our program, and getting the funding to provide for that position, I think has been such a benefit to our program. So I would say those are the two main shifts to our program. And then also just continuing to fine tune our programming. You know, we have the ability to craft programming for the women we are currently housing. There's some core programming that we for women post-incarceration, but we're also able to continue to incorporate new and innovative programs to meet the unique needs of our current cohort. And I think we're able to do that because we have such a talented team who has that training, who can kind of say, okay, we're going to do a group on healthy relationships for 6 weeks, and we're going to do a recovery group for the next 6 weeks, and just continuing to refine our program to meet the needs of the women we're currently serving.
So speaking of the programs, and by the way, I love following y'all on social media and seeing everything that's going on. So is there kind of a fan favorite program at Magdalene House that residents seem to really, really like?
Yes. So Sophia and I kind of put our heads together before this meeting, and our women love volunteering. I think if there's one thing that they love to do, it's giving back to the community that has served them here at Magdalene so well, because they've been given this once in a lifetime opportunity. And now they want to give back. They want to help other people. They know the struggle. And so our women volunteer once a week at St. James food pantries. They fill up food boxes for our community members in need. They have volunteered at Lifestyles, like any opportunity for them to give back to someone who needs extra support. Our women want to be there and they want to help. And so I would say that's probably their favorite programming. We also tie-dyed shirts yesterday. They love tie-dyeing shirts. So anything just creative where we can come together and just do a fun, healthy activity. They really enjoy doing that too.
And I would definitely agree with that. But another thing I think, or element for a group that they seem to really enjoy is, again, getting involved with members from the community. Whether it's, you know, a volunteer who comes in with like a special skill that they want to share, or when we go get involved with an organization's like an event or something, like we've gone caroling, we've gone and done face painting at an event. Just anything that we can do to like get out and meet people, and they really love to share about the work that they're doing here with those people, but not in like not being pressured to do so. They're just so excited about what we're doing, and to be able to connect with other people in the community who also believe in what we're doing here. You know, and building out that support system and that sense of community makes a world of difference to us here.
And I can see and feel that enthusiasm, and it is well warranted, and the residents should be like incredibly proud of the work that they are doing, because it's a lot of work. And it's not always, it's not easy, but being in that supportive environment just makes all the difference in the world. And I'm really enthusiastic about the work the Magdalene House does, and I am so excited to see what the residents do in the future and what the future of the program is.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving us the time to share about our program. And thank you for the work that you do to advocate on behalf of folks in the community as well. We're certainly in this together. It takes a community to do this work. And we're just grateful that you're part of our community and helping people who are in need of help.
Well, thank you all very much. And the pleasure is all mine. And thank you all, everyone who is watching this today. And if you are interested in the work that Magdalene Serenity House does, I will link it down below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.